What is up, everybody? Happy Sunday to you. No, I'm not going to do my hair, and this is not religious or anything like that, but for all those religious dudes, like, why isn't your head wrapped? Today I'm pretty lazy, so here you go. But, anyways, you guys know me. I do random live streams. You probably will have little commitment to me on this channel because I'll have little commitment to you to push out content every day to appease your need to have someone else thinking for you. But, anyways, I happen to catch my YouTube feeds, check into what's happening in Satan's world, and I, by no surprise to me, of course, I see that the white supremacists are duking it out. They are fighting. There's some infighting. There's at the conservative side, they're fighting. But I said this, and I've said this several times on this channel. If you follow it, and if you missed this live stream, obviously they suppress rational thought because obviously they want people running around like idiot, demonic people, lemmings to a thought. But you can always catch my live streams on the replay. And if you dig content like this, you can always hit the subscribe button and like. It does help the channel fight the algorithm demons. And obviously, I'm so low effort. I just, again, I'm not going to be fighting any algorithms on this channel. I need more commitment for that. And it's just, honestly, I just don't have it. But when I do, it's a treat for the people who tune in, who are not feds or demons. But, anyways, I noticed I was catching the Young Turks, and they were covering this. The topic of the conversation is Mark Levin wants to cancel Tucker Carlson. Now, like I said before, like I said, if you follow this channel, white supremacy in America boils down to the white Christian and the white Jew. Okay? Everybody else is just a casualty. They'll MK Ultra us into, hating each other, right? But it's really them, right? They are the ones who are battling for the supremacy all the freaking time, right? And, some people disagree with me, but it's like, I just look at the patterns of things, okay? I'm not a lemming. So I'm just going to look at the patterns of things. And I'm like, white supremacy has always boiled down to the white Christian and Jew. It is the white Christian and the white Jew who have always battled for the souls of the American people, right? Future generations, their mindsets, right? It's them, right? We are all just casualties in between. They'll have black people thinking that it's white people, right? Just the white Christian, right? But, again, you look at a lot of this conservative infighting, and a lot of things are being revealed, right? As much as the white looking Jew would like to say that he's our friend or she's our friend, right? You look at how much they are revealing about each other, that they were paid to narrate certain things about certain cultures, right? That they have the media landscape, the psychological landscape of the public so much on lock, right? That they are literally outing each other in a lot of this stuff. So it's just like all of us smart people, we already knew that a lot of these people were MK Ultra agents, right? Designed to keep the American public divided. We knew that, right? But now we kind of see the depths of it because these people are fighting, right? So now you have Mark Levin who wants Tucker Carlson canceled, right? And he wants Tucker Carlson canceled because obviously Tucker, he is more on that white man, white Aryan type of mindset, right? He's not really team white Jew. and he's not team white Jew narrative at all, right? And so now you see this threat rising in their establishment. You have your Tuckers, you have your Candaces, you have your um, what's that funny looking Mexican kid name that goes so hard for the Nick Fuentes, right? You got all of these people, on the white Aryan mindset, and that not only do you have all these people rising, right? A lot of these people were funded by the white Jew for an agenda, for a spell, right? But they diverted, they went rogue, right? And these people still had audiences, just like Candace Owens. Shout out to Candace Owens. Not a big fan of how she talked about black people. I still think she's a double talking demon. But when it comes to that space over there, she's killing them. Ben Shapiro wishes he had the clout that Candace has over there. They probably trying to calculate with all kinds of sorcery how to get Candace out of the game. For real. But shout out to Candace Owens, right? Because they thought that they were just gonna throw her to the wolves, like, oh, ain't no your black people don't like your ass, and we can turn the conservatives against you. And it was actually the opposite. And so Candace was like, I got an opportunity here, right? I got all these conservatives, that really rocked with my show, right? But there's a segment of them that don't rock with the intertwining of Zionism in American politics. So I'm going to cleave onto them. And it turns out that among the American white people, that a lot of them are anti-Zionist. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? We knew because the old school racists have never ever diverted from who they hate in this country. They hate the blacks and the Jews. But if they had to choose which one that they had to coexist with, they'd coexist with us niggas all the day. They would. If they said, who do you got to kick out of the country, white man? The white man would not kick out the black man first if he had to choose between the black man and the Jews. And that's just what it is. Like, we are not number one on their list. And that is what scares your Ben Shapiro's and your Mark Levin's, right? Because there is a segment of America that has risen that really don't like their people. And it's reminiscent for their people, right? Some of these Zionist type people, of all those people in all those countries and nations before that have decided to be done with their people. This is a threat to them, right? When you talk about anti-Semitism, it truly is a threat to them, because if anti-Semitism festers in a nation like America, this is just their past recreating itself all over again. Because again, I don't know a whole lot of other types of groups of people that have been just kicked out of other nations. I have a track record of that, like some of those people. And some people could call it because of anti Semitism, or it could be because of some of the behaviors of some of their people, right? And I don't like believe in demonizing, whole groups of people for the actions of a handful of people that will probably be more privileged than them, right? If you look at your everyday Jewish person, like real talk, they just like us. Like, they not endowed, they're not like rich or wealthy or whatever. There's a lot of regular Jewish people out there. But then there's that set privileged class. But off of that, white supremacy boils down to the white Christian and the white Jew. And right now, the rise of the white Aryan Christian is a threat to the white Jew. Tucker Carlson maintaining his stronghold and audience and actually getting bigger after Fox let him go, right? That's a threat. Candace Owens, right? After the Daily Wire let her go, her getting only bigger. That is a threat. That, when it comes to the narratives of the Jews running the media, right? Even if that was true, This new wave of new media is a threat to them because they can't control the narrative if people like Tucker Carlson has a clutch on the audiences that they need to manipulate, or a person like Candace Owens has a clutch on an audience that they need to manipulate. What you talking about, Mark?
Me and millions of people just like these are lowlives that have platforms. And I just want the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West crowd to understand something. You're going to have to come through me and millions of people just like me. And you're not going to make it. You think your stupid little podcast, or your stupid little subscription program, or your little TV show, or maybe you have a little radio show, is going to change the world like hell it is. Not if I and everybody else have something to say about it.
All right. So, I mean, there's so much to unpack in just those little words that he's saying, And these, even though these words are sounding more threatening, they're also sounding pretty scared. He's shook. Mark Levin is shook, as should many of those in his establishment, because you're Nick Fuentes, and honestly, right after Charlie Kirk, I'm sorry. Like, they should not have taken Charlie Kirk out of the game, right? They really should not have taken him out of the game. And I do believe that that was an organized hit. And I do believe Charlie Kirk was a threat because he had such a stronghold on these next generation white people, white youth, right? They had to take him out of the game because that mindset, that ideology, and especially with him trying to go more anti-Israel, flipping the script on his mindset about Israel because he had gotten that big where he really didn't need to exist without them. He already had his audience, right? So it's like he went rogue, he got taken out of the game, but there's so many other rogues, and there's only so much damage control these establishment people can really do. And this dude is shook. Mark Levin is actually threatened by Tucker. They are threatened by Candace. And honestly, these big men talk you like, oh, you think your little podcast. Like, honestly, grown men don't have to say shit like that if they're not threatened, right? Mark Levin is talking like a threatened man. He's actually talking on behalf, like if he's talking for his people, he's actually talking on behalf of a threatened people. They don't like the rise of this Aryan mindset brewing in America. It's a threat to them. And it's so funny because, black people, I see a lot of black people. We see, maybe we just used to these white supremacist type people because I see the little white nationalists doing that they thing, and it's like black people, like, we really not bothered by these people, right? Because if you just literally go toe to toe with any of them, they'll get their ass beat. They know it. So it's like real motherfuckers don't even think about white nationalists as much as they need people to think about them, right? But the Jews think about the white nationalists, right? Because they know at the heart of the white nationalists is a disdain for them that is even greater than black people. That they hate them more than they hate even black people. And that's a threat. That is a threat. That is a threat. And the fact that these people have so much of a platform now with X, Nick Fuentes, they deplatformed him. We were not supposed to hear from Nick Fuentes again. But the white nationalists, they started playing their game. They was like, we're going to start creating our own platforms. We're going to start doing our own thing. So we don't need these people to platform. And then some of the white nationalists actually used the Jews to get their clout. And then they said, fuck you. Right? So the white supremacists, they're definitely duking it out, right? They are definitely duking it out. And, I said something in my last video. I was like, the white Christian, I think he's just kind of salty that the white Jew has really been able to outsmart him all this time. And then it's like, well, no, the white Christians are getting smarter now. Like they're coordinating, they're understanding how to be in one accord. And even though I don't support white supremacy, right? Y'all going to hell for everything y'all believe. And when I mean hell, y'all gonna die, in judgment, God's judgment for all that hate in your heart, right? Because, you are not of the child, you're not children of the God of Abraham. But, you know, off that though, the white Christian is really waking up. They're getting very coordinated, right? They're starting to play the game of the white Jew, if you will. And you can tell that the white Christian is kind of playing the game of the Jew well, because this dude sounds shook. He be like, we got to cancel these people. We got to cancel Tucker. What is Mark saying? Let me go back. Mark Levin is not having it with no damn Tucker Carlson. He like, oh hell no. First of all, how dare any of these people who are not us have a bigger platform than our people? Candace Owens is killing Ben Shapiro. Like they got to be doing some payola shit or whatever over there at the Daily Wire, but I know that they're not killing it like Candace Owens at all, right? Ben Shapiro is probably salty. He's probably salty that that black woman that he fired, right? And she's number one. Ain't nobody even checking for Ben Shapiro but his own damn people. And the weird lemming Christians that are pro-Israel because they think that it's a biblical thing to do, right? These people don't know their Bibles, right? These people do not know their Bibles at all. Christians do not know their Bibles. You can tell that Christians don't know their Bibles to allow these affairs of men to leverage the word, right? So that they can be out here doing all this dumbass shit around the world, right? Christians don't know their Bibles. They have been told and programmed, but they do not know what's in that book. They do not know cover to cover how the story is told. They don't know the chronology. These people are just believing shit, right? They don't know their Bible. I don't care how many cherry pick scriptures they grab. Christians don't know their Bible. Because if they did, right, there would be no nation they would have allegiance to, right? Because they would be waiting on God's kingdom, right? Right? Your Bible says that your God has a kingdom that he is planning, and it has nothing to do with men on earth. And yet these Christians got their faith in men on earth, right? And they are even justifying some of the wickedness on this earth in the name of the word. Some of these people are going to hell with gasoline on their drawers. But anyways, this dude is shook. The white Christian definitely got the white Jew a little shook right now.
And America first, when you're lining up with the Marxists and the Islamists and Hamas and the terrorists. That's not America first. That's sick.
So this dude is upset. He's upset that Tucker interviewed. Like, I think the straw that broke the camel's back is when they saw Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, two white men, right? One who vehemently stands for white nationalism, and then Tucker, who is, he tried to be slick about the shit, but we know you stand for white nationalism too, Tucker. You're just a nice guy, right? He may not have the Klan outfit on, but he'll be sitting back in beers like these guys are crazy, but he won't be stopping shit. That's just my opinion. But anyways, that shook the Jews, all right? When you see, and then that it shook the Jews because Ben Shapiro is a guest on Megyn Kelly's, whatever the hell she's doing around the town or whatever, and he is pressing Megyn Kelly on basically denouncing other commentators because of their stances about Charlie Kirk. I guess in his mind, Candace Owens has been, accusing his wife and Turning Point, pressing these conservative commentators to denounce Candace Owens, to denounce, Tucker Carlson. And my thing is, why do you have to pressure people into believing anything? Like, if we have freedom of speech, people have a right to have an opinion, whatever way they go. Why do you need to go and hear a Megyn Kelly, denounce, Candace Owens? Why do you have to go? Why do you need to hear all these other people denounce, you know, their positions, or somebody else's position? I never understood that. Like, well, how do you feel about what John said? I don't give a fuck about what John said. It has nothing to do with me, right? But they want you to care. They want you to commentate, and you don't give them that gratification at all. Like, I'm gonna pull a Megyn Kelly every fucking time now. I'm not the mother of the internet. I mean, I'm not the mother of the internet. Like, what do you mean? Like, Megyn Kelly, she knows how to play dumb because they taught her how to play dumb. Now she can kind of bounce it back. Well, Ben, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't follow that. Like, I mean, he was like, well, if it was on the left, you'd be. I mean, I don't like, but Megyn Kelly, she's like, I'm not the mother of the internet. Let it go, Ben. Let it go, Ben. They are losing control over the white people are losing control over the white people. And this is where you see that revelation. Like I said, if you don't believe me, just look at the patterns. White supremacy in America boils down to the white Christian and the white Jew. And they even have like some weird ass like religious basis to it too. Like, oh, the Jews believe that they're the Hebrews of the Bible. So that's the first sad thing, right? Like, they literally believe that Amenhotep they literally believe that Amenhotep enslaved some white looking Germanic people in that particular region. So they believe they're somebody that they're not. They're not the people of the Bible at all, right? Even if they've absorbed the Hebrew faith customs through the Babylonian exile. See, you guys got to really remember, you guys got to go back to Babylon. Christians, go back to Babylon. I really want you to go back to Babylon, do just extensive research on what happened to the Hebrews when they went into exile in Babylon, right? What happened to their faith and what faith rose out of that, right? We didn't know anything about a Jew or even Judaism until the Babylonian exile. Those people that came out of Babylon were Hebrews and Jews. And they are not the same. They don't follow the same God, even if there's a hijacking of customs and idealisms, much like Islam and Christianity did right after that. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they are all perversions of the Hebrew faith, because the people in the Bible were Hebrews. They were not Jews. And the saddest thing that I hear people say is, your Messiah was a Jew. No, he wasn't. You will never hear Yeshua say that he was a Jew at all. You won't even hear any of the 12 call themselves a Jew. The only apostle that you will hear refer to himself as a Jew was the apostle Paul. Why? Because Paul was a Gentile. He wasn't a Hebrew. He wasn't. He did not live in Judea, right? He was a Hebrew. I'm sorry. He was a Gentile. Paul was born in Tarsus, and if you look at where Tarsus is today, it's Turkey. Paul was a Gentile, and he was a Pharisee. And what did Pharisees and scribes practice? Judaism, right? He was the only one of them that was a Jew, actually. So, anyways, you guys, if you read the Gospels, right, and you'll hear scholars say, well, it sounds like, it's interesting, you'll hear like this guy talks about, and it seems like the audience is different. It was. Hebrews were talking to Hebrews. Paul was responsible for spreading the gospel to the Gentiles, right? That's why the conversational manner, tone, all of that is different, because you have a actual Hebrew speaker, and you had the Greek, or you had the Apostle Paul, right? The Jew, the Pharisee who converted to the way of the Messiah. But anyways, you guys, learn your Bible and you'll know who people are and who they are not, right? But at the end of the day, the white Christian thinks that the God of Abraham gave his church to them, and then the white, taking it from the white Jew, right? Because the white Jew thinks that they are the people of the Bible, right? And so it's just a lot of weird shit, you guys. If you really just kind of understand people and cultures, you'll realize that white supremacy boils down to white Aryan Christians and white Jews. All right? And that's what it is. That is where the supremacy is in America, in the West, and everybody else a is a casualty, right? They'll have us hating white people, right, without specifically, really narrowing it down to which specific white people we should be not caring about, right? And they will always narrate it as the white Christian. In America, the white Christian is who black people are programmed to hate, right? White Christian patriarchy, white man, white man, white man, white man, white man, white man, white man. And all the while, the white Jew man can completely exclude himself from that kind of hate, right? He can chameleon out of that hate because it's like, well, I'm not a white Christian man, I'm a white Jew man, right? White supremacy in America boils down to these two groups of people, right? They are the ones who are vying for power and influence in the world. And honestly, this is Satan's world. So, a lot of these people got the devil in them. All right, let me look at my comments. I know there's some people who are offended. And I have to say, before I even look at my comments, fuck your feelings, right? You're entitled to feel what you want, and so am I. So let me get to the live stream. I am so sweet, though. I'm such a nice person. I'm intolerable of like emotional people who want to flex their ridiculous on me. It's like, hey, I've read the history books, I've read the biblical and the secular history. I know who people are and I know who they are not. You look at the patterns of these issues, right? And the patterns don't lie, right? And it takes the conservatives going back and forth with each other for it to reveal a whole damn lot. And honestly, I'm not fucking lying. White supremacy boils down to white Christians battling the white Jew. And they're going to manipulate everybody in between to just be on one of their sides, right? So you're either pro white Jew Zionist, right? Or you're not. I mean, that's really kind of, and then, for most of the other people in America, we don't give a fuck about none of that shit, but they still want us to have a side. And it's like, you just got to ignore them. Just ignore the white supremacists. Let them duke it out, like they always have. And, may the best supremacist win. Anyways, all right. Let's give, who is this? Santos. I don't even know your name, but I'm sorry your mom gave birth to you, right? Some people just should have been aborted, and you're making that our fault. I'm gonna need you not to do that ever on my channel. All right, let's see who else. Set aside our differences and focus on the common enemy. Yeah, the common enemy is the raping, whoever is raping and devaluing the US dollar. Who's devaluing the US dollar? Who is driving this nation more and more into debt? The white Christian and the Jew, and all the other people are just their lemmings, right? Because they got to have black faces. They got to elect some black faces, some Asians, some Mexicans, just so the fuckery of America can be inclusive, right? They have included everybody's race in screwing over this nation. Congratulations. You're so inclusive. Anyways, Jesus loves me. Yeshua does love me. I don't call him by the Greek name. We don't call, anybody else from history by some Greek name. He was a Hebrew, and I would refer him to his, Hebrew name, which is Yahusha. Some people say Yeshua, right? It would translate in English as Joshua, right? I don't understand why people, adopt the Greek Jesus. It almost reminds me of Zeus, which makes me believe that the image of these people's Greek Christ is actually the Antichrist. And people do some really wicked stuff in the name of Jesus. Have you ever seen somebody wear one of those pagan crosses and do just wicked shit? I'm beginning to think that the white Christian's Jesus is actually the Antichrist. I really do believe that. I really do believe that. Look at the wickedness in some of these people's heart. I mean, it's to me, it's insane to me, the wicked spirit that could be attached to people that wears the personification of that cross. I'm beginning to think that the Christian Jesus is actually the Antichrist, and people are worshiping the Antichrist, the image of the Antichrist, and they really just don't know it, right? So I'm gonna call him by his Hebrew name because I really don't know what this Jesus represent anymore to some of you people. So I'm gonna call him by his Hebrew name. I'm not calling him by the Greek God name. I'm not gonna call him by the Greek God name. I'm gonna call him by the Hebrew name. All right. But anyways, what's going on? You know, you said, what are you doing? I am just sitting here talking about how the white supremacists are battling each other. And, like I said, a lot of the assumptions that I've always had, like, damn, white supremacy in America really is looking like it's boiling down to the white Jew and the white Christian. And, you look at these conservatives battle, you can see it. You see it. You see it. Like, you really do see the patterns of what I'm talking about. Look at what they're saying about each other, right? And at the end of the day, leave it to Nick Fuentes to really just be just outright and bold about it. Their mindset, their ideology of supremacy has nothing to do with the white looking Jew at all. Like, they're like black people. They really are like black people. Like, they're like your Tariq Nasheeds, right? Where, Tariq likes that black delineation. He likes to make sure that everybody is culturally and tribally aware of who they are. Like, you were a foundational black American or Native American, indigenous person. You are our tribe, right? And then, you have the other folks, right, that were beneficiaries of our struggle, right? The black looking immigrants, right? That's how he thinks. That's how the white supremacists think too, right? The white nationalists. They're like, please delineate us from the white looking Jew, right? So, ergo, white supremacy boils down to them. But, anyways, you guys, have a wonderful, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Have you observed this as well? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, to me, the people who have the most power are the ones who, you know, have, the most power, And, even if they empower people that look like me, the people that look like me are still not the faces of any decisions that they make. You know what I mean? Just because you get a black congresswoman, for example, right? It doesn't mean that she hasn't been paid by some lobbyist organization to say whatever the fuck they want her to say. And all she needs to do is just sit her ass in that seat and enrich herself. You know what I mean? All the while doing every single thing that lobbyist group has had her to do. Same way with the Asians and all that good jazz, right? I don't know if anybody followed the Detroit mayoral race, right? A lot of black men are very upset, right? Solomon Kinlock, he lost to Mary Sheffield. She was one of the youngest city council members, and I think now she's one of the youngest black female mayors, or even just female mayors in general, for a large population over 250,000. So Mary Sheffield won. I didn't even follow the race, but the one thing I knew for sure, right, is that Mary Sheffield was going to win. She was going to win and Solomon Kinlock was not going to win, because number one, he does not fit the narrative right now. The Democratic Party is suffering. They are suffering big time. And I think when they look at the last election cycle and they see kind of things gone wrong, there were a hell of a lot more black women that voted red than they were comfortable with. So that they got to get this black female empowerment thing going. And it wasn't going to empower their base, the right base, um, like, if Kinlock would have won. So the black woman was going to win in that scenario. The Democrats were going to make sure, if you followed Mary Chatfield's money, trust and believe, she had it in the bag. She had it in the bag. And, she placates into their storyline, a woman that prioritizes career, not family. Her dude is going to stand behind her now, right? Instead of her standing behind the success of a man, not married, no kids, career driven woman. This is how they want women in the Democratic Party. They don't want them thinking about being, housewives and none of that traditional shit, right? If Kinlock won, he would not have been as leverageable as Mary Sheffield. Democrats can't control black men. Republicans can't control black men. All right. What's the dude's name out in Detroit, in New York? Eric Adams, right? They can't control black men in these political parties. Black men are a threat to them in these political parties because they know they are not as leverageable as black women. And when you're trying to say maybe destroy a community, or if you want to say, you know, usher in, new things that are going to slowly but surely rob people of their freedoms, you kind of got to use a black woman for that. An ambitious, title, power hungry woman to do that, because she's going to be, basking in her glory and title, all the while just saying yes to everything that everybody is telling her to do. And she is going to fucking do it, right? Because sh- shit is being dangled to her. So, no, if you follow the Detroit mayoral race, yeah, they needed a swan song, first woman story, and they got it. Kinlock had zero chance, right? So it was a sad day for black men, a lot of angry black men, right? They felt like, the establishment had won again, but, they just had more money. They just had more money. That black man was not going to win. He was not leverageable enough for the Democrats, especially that particular black man, because I've met him before. Very straight shooter dude. Um, I don't think they would have just been stringing him along like a puppet without a lot of fight. So they got the right one in. Congratulations to Mary Sheffield on her success and making history. And, obviously, I don't trust black politicians as far as I can throw them. But, a win is a win. Anyways, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your evening. I pray for everybody. I do pray for everybody. We pray for the Christians and the Jews, you know, and we pray that they, work out, not all the Jews and Christians, but the ones that are in the conservative space right now, duking it out, revealing all the racism of one versus the other, right? I even heard somebody say, yeah, Ben Shapiro, he was paying Candace Owens, right, to like just totally talk about her people, like he was just totally, she was just like, that's what she was paid for, right? And it's just like, it was just like, thank you, sir, for saying everything that everybody thought anyways, right? We kind of figured that Candace was taking that Zionist money to talk shit about her people. But the question that remains, keeping in the spirit of and all that shit, would these people just have an interest in continuously narrating black people a certain way? Why would you put money on those narrations? Like, to me, if something is true, if it's obvious, it's observable, do I need to put money on it? Do I need to pay people to reinforce this truth? Or is this a truth that's being manipulated to, let's say, a rural white guy named Dale who never been around black people ever in his life? And the only thing that Dale gets to see is what is projected to him about black people on the TV and the internet. And so there is an invested interest in making sure that Dale, who's never been around black people, only see these images of black people. So when Dale goes out, he has these images firmly established in his mind, right? And I was just talking about this to with a friend, and she was just like, "Yeah, I know a lot of like white people who say that they grew up in like very, very like racist towns, and then they went away to college, and then they just were like exposed to like all these different people, and it's like they actually felt bad about the way that they were raised, and they kind of rejected that, and they're like, I'm not going to teach my kids how to think like that. But it's like it's about exposure, right? They went out of the town, right, and they actually got the interaction and the exposure, right? So they were able to organically change their racist positions about other people because they realized that those were just projections, right? But poor Dale sent his ass over there woven into that town. He's never going to be able to get that experience, right? And that's what they're paying for, right? They're paying for the people who are underexposed to other cultures and people to have these negative ideas and mindsets about those people. And obviously, they need even faces like Candace Owen. They need black people talking shit about black people too. They need Brandon Tatum's, right? And Brandon Tatum don't know what the fuck to do now, right? Because he built his audience on the white supremacist, the white Christian, right? But it's the white Jew that's funding him. So now he's looking like Boo Boo the Fool, right? Because now he got to talk shit about his audience, right? To appease the white Jew. So these people, like even the black conservatives, right? They are being made to choose a side, and in choosing a side, their audiences are giving them their asses. Like Brandon Tatum has been, like, honestly, he's been like just the target of so many people these days. He's really starting to see how people that he thought was cool, down for him, now they calling them monkeys and coons, and he's like, you call it a black man it's like, dog, you commit a lot of your content to calling and narrating black men all kinds of different ways. Now you're getting your Negro wake up call, realizing that these white Christians don't like your ass, right? You are a means to an end, and the minute you start siding with the white Jew is when they gonna start cooning your ass. You were Brandon before you started siding with the white Jews. Now your ass is coon and all kinds of racist ass names because you picked the wrong damn side in their minds. But anyways, stay true to yourself, guys. Don't sell your soul. Don't sell your soul. Don't sell your idealisms out. Sometimes, money is not worth it when you out here looking like Boo Boo the Fool, right? Because now your whole audience is turning on your ass. And not only are they turning on your ass, they really telling your ass how they feel. Like, imagine somebody just, you cool with John. John's like, yeah, keep all those stories going, Brandon. And then the minute you start saying some shit that they don't like, John's like, you fucking coon. Like, damn, this is what Brandon Tatum is going through right now. It's like, don't sell your soul, people. Just don't sell your soul. You say you pray for Candace and Ben. I pray for everybody, right? Because I think a lot of people are woven into Satan's world. They're looking for deliverance in the wrong places, and it's just like, yeah. Where is my popcorn? For real. Oh, that sounds great. Anyways, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you on the next one. What's going on? I see you, Brian. I just popped on. You know me. I live life. I like to be in reality. I don't want to be with the cyber demons. Okay. So I am so random on my channel. I actually lost some subscribers, but it's like, well, you shouldn't. You probably were feds anyway. So bye. But I live life, and so, but every now and then, you guys know, I'll jump on, and if I see something interesting, I'm going to talk about it. And I just felt like the conservative infighting was very predictable. I called it months ago, and it's just interesting that when I called it, I was saying that, hey, this narration of white supremacy, guys, this is really boiling down to the white Christian and the white Jew. Everybody else is a casualty to their bullshit and their supremacy wars. And look at, what this conservative infighting is revealing to us, that I was right. It's a gift and a curse, I suppose. Anyways, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. I will have my hair done next time, but my hormones said that I didn't have to do my hair today, that I could just keep it wrapped up. And so I complied with my over 40-year-old hormones. So, yeah. Bye.